We talked in our last video about some mutualistic associations that plants form with both bacteria and fungi. So we're going to end up this chapter by talking about some non-mutualistic nutritional associations, some associations that plants have with other species that are not mutualistic. So the first example are epiphytes. Epiphytes are plants that grow on other plants. They're not parasites, so they're not harming the tree that they live on, except for their adding weight. So an example is we see this staghorn fern that is living on another tree. So this is beneficial to the plant because the plant, it's beneficial to the fern plant, that is, it's beneficial to the epiphyte because the epiphyte doesn't have to spend the energy to make a great big trunk, but it gets to live up at a high level and gets exposure to sunlight that plants down on the bottom of the forest would not get. So this is beneficial to the epiphyte and not terribly harmful for the tree that it's living on. And by the way, these ferns could live on rocks as well. And so we call this kind of a relationship a commensalism. It's beneficial for one and neither helpful nor harmful for the other. Now, actually, in the rainforest and especially in the cloud forest, plants can accumulate just hundreds and hundreds of epiphytes. If you have a chance to go to the rainforest sometime, just notice how many plants are living on other plants. In these rainforest trees, you'll find ferns, you'll find orchids, you'll find even cactus living on the top of other plants, and lots of mosses, of course. And sometimes the weight just becomes unbearable and it just topples a tree over. So there may reach a point where this epiphytic relationship is not beneficial for the host tree. And so the question here is, how does the epiphytic growth form benefit the plant? Well, it benefits the epiphyte by putting it up high where it can get plenty of light. Next, we have parasitic plants. So these are plants that do get their nutrients from the plant that they're living on. So here we have on the left an example from our forests in the North Woods. There is mistletoe that will sometimes invade other plants. And so it's a parasite. Mistletoe can kill another plant. And so the mistletoe is a plant, and it is actually a green plant. It is photosynthetic, but it gets some of its nutrients by burrowing its roots into the plant that is living on. And then we have a couple examples here on the right of non-photosynthetic plants. So one is this Indian pipe. It's a non-photosynthetic parasite, and it actually parasitizes mycorrhizae. So this plant is a flowering plant. These are flowers, but it is not green. It is not getting any of its energy from the sun. It is taking sugars from that mycorrhizae, and the mycorrhizae in turn got the sugars from another plant, which is kind of interesting. And then the third one here is the one in the middle, and the daughter, the parasite here, are these little orange filaments. This is a non-photosynthetic plant. It doesn't look like a plant, but it is, and so it's surrounding, and it's going to burrow its little roots into this green plant. So those are parasitic plants. They actually get their nutrients from other plants or fungi or from dead organic matter. So epiphytes, parasites, and then next, third, we have carnivorous plants. And so carnivorous plants they're actually green plants. Like here you see the Venus flytrap. It is a green plant. It's got chlorophyll. It makes its own carbohydrates by photosynthesis, But these carnivorous plants tend to live in soil that is very low in nitrogen. And so they digest small animals to get nitrogen. So if everybody's familiar with Venus flytrap, it'll close that trap and trap in the dragonfly in this case, or flies, and that will then it will secrete some digestive enzymes into that space, and it will digest that animal and use that nitrogen to help it make its own amino acids. Here's another example of a carnivorous plant, this sundew, and these sundews have these hairs that are sticky, and so here is a fly of some sort that has gotten trapped on one of these sundews, and it will eventually get digested by the sundew. The sundew kind of folds in on it and pulls it in and digests it. I'm going to post some videos on our Moodle page. I'll post this link here. That's a YouTube video, and I think one of these links is a sundew video. I can't remember which one. And then a third example of a carnivorous plant are these pitcher plants. And a pitcher plant has a leaf that is just folded into the shape of a pitcher, and it's got these upward facing or upward pointing hairs, like you see where this ant is getting ready to venture into this pitcher. There are these upward pointing hairs, so it's kind of like a nice slippery slide that'll take it into the pitcher, and then it won't be able to crawl back up. So it's trapped inside there. And then the plant, when it rains, it gets filled up with water, and it puts some digestive enzymes into the pitcher, and it will digest ants and whatever have happened to crawl in, and it'll use those for nitrogen. And interestingly, this species of plant, these pitcher plants, they will grow just regular normal leaves if they're growing in soil that has plenty of nitrogen. But if they happen to grow in soil that doesn't have enough nitrogen, then they will go ahead and form these pitchers and start trapping insects for their nitrogen source. And so there's a great video here about carnivorous pitcher plants, and I encourage you to watch that. It's kind of a fun video. So my review question for you for this section is, in what kind of soil would you expect to find carnivorous plants? And I will stop our video here.